Hi, my name is Reverend Rafe Ellis, and I need to talk. My hope is that you will choose to listen and choose to consider what is alive in me to share, to say, from an undefended place. And if you bump up against cognitive dissonance, if you bump up against internal defensiveness, that you'll choose to still listen and to move through that to a new awakening, to a new awareness. I'm tired. I'm tired of watching my black brothers and sisters be killed simply because they were born with black skin. I'm tired of watching people that I love and care about be in pain every day because we live in a society that is so continuously unconscious that we refuse to own what's operating in our collective consciousness, in our socialized beliefs that are held so deeply that we won't even challenge them because it requires us to challenge our very identity. Perhaps it's time to change our identity. Perhaps it's time to actually identify with our spiritual truth more than our human conditioning. I'm tired of being afraid for my Mexican mama. I'm tired of being afraid for my Mexican brothers and sisters. I'm tired of being afraid for my wife who is mixed race. I'm tired of being confused why she has to identify as black when she is equally white in her genetic makeup. I'm just tired, people. We have to do this differently. I'm tired of watching and listening to people who I admire and respect in New Thought, where I'm licensed as a minister, hide, and I mean hide, behind spiritual bypass. I'm tired of hearing, I don't live in condition, when, beloveds, the truth is our very human form is condition. So if I'm tired of living in condition, if we're tired of living in condition, why are we in human form? And I don't suggest that you commit suicide or leave. What I'm inviting is join us in the discomfort of growth. Own the spiritual bypass. Own the BS and the rhetoric that is so easy to hide in. We have to own our history, folks. We have to own, and we have to stop. What's the word I want here? We have to stop settling into this place of fragility. And I'm talking about whiteness. I'm talking about straightness. I'm talking about economics and education. Privilege is this insidious code word for separation. Separation is the foundation of every freaking form of supremacy. And supremacy is about not knowing the truth of who we are, because it's a human egoic thing that has to make me think I must be better than someone else. And the truly odd part about this, that I think we don't even bother to look at, is how we are so busy defining ourselves by what we're not that we actually tether ourselves to the belief in what we're separating ourselves from. Now, that may be the beauty of what's happening too, because something inside of us knows we are one with everything. And by one, I do not mean sameness. I mean one. We're all created out of one substance. Call it divinity, call it God, call it creation. I don't care what you call it. It's bigger than a name. It's always existed. Every form of life is created out of it and contains it. We literally are creator in form. And we have to clear up that piece of separation first. Because when we dare to know the truth about who we are, that we are an individualized expression of spirit having a human adventure, then we become less invested in being separate. We begin to understand that anyone's pain is our pain, that anyone's enslavement at any level is my enslavement, that I can't be free until you're free. Not just free to walk this planet, but free from the lies that restrict our awareness of the magnificence of who we are. Free from the lies that, see, when you step into an elevator with me, you're not afraid. And many of you watching this, whether you care to admit it or not, if you step into an elevator with a black man, some part of you is instantly afraid of something, and you don't even know what. And it's all of the beliefs that have morphed and anchored and continued throughout this history of humanity. But let me share a little dose of reality with you. By the very standards that created that deeply held unconscious belief that makes us afraid to be in an elevator with a black man, apply to me. See, I am a female to male transgender man. I am married to a mixed race woman. I grew up a childhood junkie. I knew how to shoot a gun before I knew how to spell my name. I committed crimes as my childhood activity. There's every reason, psychologically, factually, for you to be terrified of me. And yet you're not. Now, no, I'm not that same person today, but if you're telling the truth, you know nothing about me in that elevator. And you know nothing about that black man in the elevator either. And that's the place where we have got to dive into our beliefs and get right. We have got to tell the truth. I'm so tired of reading the placating comments of white people when yet another black human being is killed, is murdered. I'm an ex-cop. First I was the criminal, then I was the cop. My life has been this beautiful weave of intersectionality. So yes, I carry a different perspective. So what? I didn't always have this perspective. I've worked my butt off to get this perspective. Why do I say that? Because that's the only thing that stops every one of us from having a different perspective. How willing are you to work your butt off to educate yourself? Or are you exercising this sense of privilege to sit back and wait for the marginalized, the oppressed, the enslaved, the murdered people to educate you? That's ridiculous. And it's unkind. It's beyond unkind. It's cruel. And it's just another form of enslavement. And it has to stop. Silence is complicit. And if that pisses you off, I do not care. And you can make up whatever narrative you want to make about your silence. It doesn't stop it from being complicit. And yes, in this moment, right here, right now, I am experiencing the emotion of anger. Because we are better than this. You are better than this. And my invitation is for you to step into the betterness of you. To actually dare to live the truth that you espouse. To live it. Not to think about it, but to be about it. I'm not suggesting that it is everyone's calling to be an out, open activist. I'm not, because that may not be yours. But it's interesting to me how silent people go, even on social media. Let somebody, we post these cutesy little pictures about our pets and hundreds of people respond. And we post something like this that's uncomfortable. And a handful of people respond. See, you can be in the car. You can actually do something to further equity, to further the celebration of every single expression of creation, simply by sharing this video. You don't even have to comment. But if you share it, it moves the message out. And what stops you? I suspect it's other people's opinions of you. And does your opinion, does someone else's opinion of you really matter more to you than human life? I don't know the answer to that, but you do. We have these little buzzwords and phrases, like-minded. Newsflash, your growth is not found in like-minded people. The sustenance of your current belief system is supported in like-minded people. But your growth will come from having conversations with people who think differently than you. Your growth will come when you dare to engage in conversations that were respectful, loving conversations, where you acknowledge the value of someone's opinion that is different from yours and keep digging until you find the common thread. That's the activity of oneness. We spend so much time separating ourselves, finding out how we're different. If we spent 1/10 of the time excavating where we are similar, where we have shared connections, we will heal humanity so fast it will boggle our minds. This is an inside job, folks. And there's lots of ways to participate. The first way to participate is to open your mind. It's no secret to those of you who know me, I'm a member of a couple of 12-step recovery. By the grace of God and the 12 steps, I got 37 years free from heroin. I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. One of the greatest lines I've ever read: to be truly open-minded means to consider that everything I think I know could be incorrect. Could be. Not is, but could be. And so I invite you, hell, I challenge you. Open your mind. Consider that just possibly you don't have it all figured out, that you don't have all the answers, that fragility really is a thing. And if you're feeling any resistance at all to anything I'm saying, that perhaps that just might sort of some way be the activity of some form of fragility. If you're feeling the need to defend, what are you defending? I'm sharing my truth. I'm inviting you to consider a different way to see things. I'm pointing out that we live in a country, in a society that is steeped in racism. That the 14th Amendment did not end slavery. It ended one form of slavery. And that the policies and procedures and institutionalized racism that continues to be active in even one person's mind is still the activity of slavery. A signature on an amendment didn't change that. You and I have to change that. Well-intentioned, good-hearted white people have to change that. Privilege is real. I don't care whether you believe that or not. It doesn't change that it is. Let me give you one little quick example how I know that privilege is real. I spent 43 years masquerading, and I say masquerading because it was never who I was, in a female body, knowing I was male. That's a whole nother conversation. But what I can tell you is that for 43 years, I experienced male supremacy from the oppression side. And I get misogyny is real because I've lived it. And the part that was more painful than the misogyny and continues to be is having male privilege. One day I didn't have it. And then as the process of the physical transition took place, all of a sudden I was more respected. I was treated differently. My pay rate for jobs changed. I mean, this is just mind-numbing, asinine reality that is purely based in male privilege. I didn't earn any of that. Testosterone opened the door to it. Privilege is real. White privilege is real. Straight privilege is real. Economic privilege is real. Educational privilege is real. It doesn't mean you didn't earn your education, but what you didn't earn is a different level of respect as a human being because you're educated. Your education deserves to be celebrated, but your humanity is no better educated than illiterate. It's our humanity. It's our value as a human being that is equal. So please stop hiding behind all of the definitions that we use to separate ourselves. Please stop hiding behind all of the nice qualifiers that somehow get used to make you better than somebody else. Creator God. We are created in its image. So how about you ask yourself, how often do you recreate it in your image? How often do you justify your spiritual perspective by massaging the identity of God into what you want it to be instead of what it actually is? One source, one substance, one activity of creation, beautifully, magnificently manifest in every form of creation. That everyone that you separate yourself from is literally separating yourself from a piece of yourself. Because just like I have cells in my human body, all that have beautifully diverse different functions that serve my physical body to make it function in harmony and in perfect order with itself. Perhaps we can begin to look at every human being as that specialized, individualized, magnificent cell in the body of the infinite, all equally necessary, all equally perfect, all equally valuable and necessary for the perfect, whole, healthy, harmonious, ordered functioning of the divine's body, of the body of God. Nothing to throw out. If you use the word inclusion, if you have any idea that it matters, start by including all of the pieces of yourself that you keep refusing to look at because it's uncomfortable. Start there, because you cannot include me or anyone else until you include you. And you don't have to separate from anyone to do that, because the very people that you're separating yourself from, there's your clue, there's your trail back to the parts of you that you're separating from. I love you. I know some of you I've never met. That doesn't make me not love you. It doesn't prevent me from loving you. It just means we haven't met yet. Love is the infinite givingness. And I love you. Thanks for listening.